Why? Eau Claire, Wisconsin, close to Madison, Wisconsin. Hey, there's culture up there, and there's jobs. And that told me something. Why do we have a brain drain in so many areas here? Because we lack this infrastructure, at least from their perception. All right? Now, me, I'm going to be here. I'm not going to go to clubs and stuff like that, but young people want to go out and they want to, go to cultural events. What kind of cultural events do we have around here? Besides, shameless plug, the Smooth Jazz Concert, August 28th, in Washington Park in Michigan City. I had to say that, sorry.
I can give you an example of how we lost the project because of that. Mm-hmm. We were working with Arsenal Metal years ago, and they were trying to decide where they were going to put their American headquarters. So they were looking at Chicago, so of course we tried to go over there and woo them. They're like, you guys don't have no culture over there. We want to be in Chicago where things are happening. There's zoos and parks. And they're like, no. And there was nothing we could give them to even think about it. They were like, no way. So
you're talking about corporate headquarters, which means it's populated by managers. It's populated by by a demographic that wants that culture, and we frankly just don't have that. And we can't compete with Chicago in that respect. But there may be some things we can do.
Well, we tried to play it on only 30 miles away, but they're like, no.
Yeah, that's too far. 30 miles away is too far.
They want to walk out of that.
That's exactly right.
See.
And then see it. Yeah. They just want to walk out there and see it. 30 miles is too far. That's probably why they're not located in Southern California, because 30 miles is that's next door. But here, 30 miles is too far for some folks. And it's understandable. But like I said, there are some things we can do. Instead of focusing on bringing, corporate managers in, maybe, or what are some of the other things that we could focus on in terms of culture? How do we keep young people in this area? What are some of the things that you would find attractive? What would keep you in this area? What would keep what would keep the young folks in the area? You got several young, not that you're not so young, but what would keep you in this area?
I think more activities in the area. I know a lot of Porter County is working on a branding thing right now, and Chesterton's looking at being kind of labeled as the arts. So
right.
They have the art fair every year, but if they could do something that was bigger,
right?
Be able to
Would
draw
one art fair a year be enough?
No, because the Wizard of Oz Festival isn't enough. You need something. You need something more. You need some kind of attraction downtown, or somewhere in that vicinity, where it's a draw.
Right, something sustainable, something that people would go to.
A second city kind of thing. I mean,
what kind of thing? A comedy club. A comedy club, a music club, a nightclub where you can have music every day of the week except for Wednesdays and Saturdays. You can have comedy. Something like that. That would be interesting to go to, right? Yeah. Why doesn't that happen in Chesterton?
They're all in Chicago.
Oh, there you go. Okay. All right. Well, but that's as a thought. It all starts with an idea, and then see what we can, what we can do. I often thought something similar for LaPorte, but there's no parking downtown, so we need to work on that. Jennifer.
I know my sister didn't stay in this area when she was done with school. She's a dentist because she was wanting her student loans paid back faster, and there wasn't enough nonprofit agencies that were dental oriented, so that then they would pay back towards her loans as she was working for them.
Oh, I see.
She moved to Colorado for
okay.
better opportunity there, I guess.
Right. Well, that sort of thing, that's really hard to help. I mean, an individual situation where she needs a not-for-profit. Well, she didn't need a not-for-profit. She chose because it does get paid off faster. They're forgiven. Many of the loans are forgiven if you work for not-for-profit a certain number of years. The federally insured student loans, but but it does bring up the point as well. There aren't enough places like that around here.
Right. Well, with the price of student loans, the interest rate at what it's at now.
Right.
I mean, it's better to pay off.
Oh yeah.
Hold on.
Then hold on to them because the interest rates are high right now compared to the general interest rate. I don't know. Eventually, you take a student loan from the government. They'll you're paid off in 20 years now. That's what they have.
They used to
that's
be
the
a
new
lot
law.
lower, though.
Yeah, they used to be a whole lot lower. Kevin.
This is a funny point for me because I feel strongly that a lot of, in our literature and the things when we go to Chicago, we put, oh, lower taxes, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that means as much as this does in a lot of instances. Number one, look at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was a ghost town 10 years ago. Look what it's become now because they focused on that.
Exactly.
Chicago was going down the same path of Detroit and Cleveland, something like that. They focused on that, and that's where they've become. They have become that cultural center, and I think, again, when we go to these regional meetings, things like that, we always, taxes and blah, that's not sexy. That's boring. And
That's the new word we're going to be using in economic development, sexy. Got to keep it sexy. I agree with that. It's, I'll get to you in a second, Chuck. It's, it's all about quality of life issues. How do you improve the quality of life? Part of it is cultural. How do we create an atmosphere of culture? How can we keep the young people here? I don't want to hang out with people only my own age, which is happening. Every place I go, it's everybody looks like me. Or younger, but not much younger. Okay, and so it's like, all right, well, this is fun, but we need to have all demographics. We need to have this culture, and you're exactly right. Look what they did in Chicago. They improved the culture. In Pittsburgh, Cleveland, they're doing the same thing. They're focusing on the cultural, if we want to use cultural capital as that variable, that's really playing a vital role, more so than taxes and TIFs, and that toolbox is worn. That old toolbox is being held with duct tape right now. Okay, so we have to think outside of that duct tape bag. Chuck?
Does size matter?
Does size matter?
When we talk about cultural capital.
Mm-hmm.
No.
If we look at,
Is my answer.
good.
Because look at Ann Arbor,
Derek and
Michigan.
I will not
Look at
agree
Ann
on a
Arbor,
lot of
Michigan.
things.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And I raise this for a question. If you look at Pittsburgh, if you look at Madison, Wisconsin, if you look at Ann Arbor, if you look at Indianapolis, there is a certain, or you look at Chicago, or you look at Peoria, there is a certain size. The question that I raise is, every community wants to be culturally superior by having its artisan community. If we go along the necklace of communities on the waterfront, name me a community that doesn't have an arts district and that doesn't have its little bar or brew pub that has entertainment on Saturday night and karaoke on some other night.
Sure.
So the question that I pose, is there a certain size of geography that's necessary to provide a certain market of sufficient capacity to induce a private sector investment that returns a reasonable return on a business venture that fulfills that cultural capital? Or do we, in the governmental not-for-profit sector, have to step into that role and provide a financial mechanism that subsidizes the development of that cultural capital? I hold the position that there needs to be a certain size of population base. There needs to be a certain composition of that population base in order to sustain sufficient interest that generates revenue to establish a cultural capital position.
Okay, what Stephanie said before about